Hey guys, Thrasher here, and today we're going to talk about some of your top team options for the upcoming Legends Battle Royale Extreme version. Let's talk about it right now. Okay, so we don't need to really do too much in the game here. Rather than going through the character list selector and doing it in a really complicated way, I'm going to throw up the teams on the right side, and it's going to look a little complicated, or it may not make perfect sense because some of them are 6-man teams, some of them are not. Let me explain exactly what's going on here. So I have ordered these, I think, in the power that the team has overall. So maybe not necessarily the most optimal, most powerful team if you have every single one of the best characters, but what the teams give you is flexibility, and some of them are considerably easier to build than others. And then I have them ordered, I think, in general power level. So if we look at the top one, that's Frieza Force, and the way this is going to work for every single one of these is the top row are your core characters. You pretty much need those characters to be running near the optimal team. The bottom are your bench units or your switch characters, substitute characters that will be on your bench, and then you can switch them in certain situations where, say you're running a green, yellow team and you run up against multiple purples and you don't think that your yellow alone can deal with them. Maybe you switch out one of your greens to one of the lower row units that isn't green, so that way you don't have a single yellow unit trying to take care of the entire other team. That is essentially what I'm talking about here. So first up, Frieza Force, top 3 characters. The 2 on the left, the 3rd form Frieza and the 1st form Frieza, just got buffs. They're very good damage units now. The Chilled is a phenomenal support unit. That is absolutely the optimal team that you see right there. If you don't have the Chilled, you don't have to worry about it big time. What you can do is take the other 1st form Frieza, the Pod Frieza. You can put him in Chilled spot, and that team is still good. Definitely not anywhere near as good as it would be with the Chilled, but it still works very well. So keep that in mind. And then let's move into Androids. Androids are a team that have a ton of buffs. They have great synergy, and this is the first one where you're going to notice that there's no 6th unit there. So those top 3 units are pretty much your core. That's what you're going to run in most optimal situations. Those bottom 2 units are 2 of the best Z ability buffing units in the game. You want them on your bench. And then your 6th unit you have a ton of options for, so I didn't put one there. It's going to depend on how you play and how you want to respond to other players. So there's lots of options there, but those 5 will get you started if you want to run the Android team. Next up is the God Key team. This team does a ton of damage. The Whis has very good damage. The Beerus will absolutely one combo almost every opponent in the game. The issue is there's not a lot of synergy outside of those 2 units. So what you're going to need to do if you want to run that team is you have to have the Whis and you have to have the Beerus. If you don't have both, it's not a great idea to run them together. But what you can do is take those 2 and then find yourself a great support unit. A good example is the purple EX Mai. She's pretty good. You could probably run her. And then you want 3 Z ability buffing units that probably aren't going to be able to buff God Key, but what you can do is buff the color types of those units. I would probably buff mainly the yellow type and just buff Beerus' damage even more to guarantee you're one comboing pretty much every other person that you face in the tournament. Now let's talk about the regeneration team. While this team is an option and the Evil Boost still has great damage potential, the Slug is also a good unit. The one issue with this team is there's not a lot of synergy, just because most of their Z abilities do not buff regeneration based units. A few of them do, but a good example is the Janemba, who you will probably run in your core. The reason I didn't put him in the top row is because he doesn't have a regeneration Z ability buff, so there's lots of other options that you could run on that team if you're trying to get a little more synergy, but he is a good unit. He's fairly new. His kit is decent. You can run it that way if you want. Now let's talk about the last team that I have on here, and this is sort of a hybrid. It's not just a female warrior team, it is the Master Roshi female warrior team. So if you're looking at extreme units, the Youth Bulma and the Videl are both top tier extreme units. The Roshi is not necessarily a top tier extreme unit anymore. He used to be. He does get huge damage buffs if he runs with female warriors, which he is here. All the other characters on the bottom row are buffing female warrior characters, and the Roshi actually has a Z ability that heavily buffs the Bulma, who can absolutely destroy opponents. She is a terror when it comes to combat. So that's one of the good reasons to have him on your team. If you don't want to run the Roshi thing and you just want extreme synergy throughout the entire team, there are a few other female warrior options that you could pull out for the Roshi. But if you're going to run female warrior, why not run it with a little bit of style, if you ask me? And that's pretty much it for the list of teams that you're probably going to run. You could obviously come up with a few other options that are way out there, but these are the standard teams that you're going to run into when you actually see the Legends Battle Royale. I would get one of these teams generally ready. Make sure that you get the huge buff equipment ready for those, the ones that give 25% to blast and strike, attack and defense, as well as health. Make sure you have one for each character on your team and get ready to rock because it's coming up real soon. That's pretty much it for this video. If you guys disagree with anything, if you think I missed anything, throw it down below. And if you like this content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.